Welcome to OnWriting with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. We seek to restore pride and dignity of Africans through the power of reading and writing. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Onkarabile Mokoto and I am your host. Please don't forget to subscribe, to share online as we are starting our conversation with a very special guest, Mathulare Ashler Mathikge, who is a data scientist, okay, we say data scientist and a farmer, and she's here to share more on the great job that she is doing. Mathulare, ne? Yes. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I mean, your story is very interesting. I told you about this. You left Joburg because you wanted to study agriculture, and you looked around, you didn't find any institution that will offer you with agricultural studies. Then you went to Northwest. Yeah. That's where you got the institution. Yes. And you studied agriculture.
Yes.
The other way around, I left Northwest. I was doing agriculture in Northwest.
Wow.
Then I came to Joburg. There was no school for agriculture,
Mm-hmm.
So when I left Northwest doing agriculture, coming this side, I didn't do it. Why now you didn't do it? And then you went to Northwest to do it. Please, just tell us about that.
It was a very difficult choice to make. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't easy. I grew up in an urban environment. I'm born and bred in Soweto. I've lived the country for some time. I spent some time abroad. And then when I came back, that's when the interest for farming was really burning, in me. To seriously pursue. So I obviously wanted to be comfortable. I wanted to be near my family and things that were familiar to me, but I found that no institution was offering me a qualification in the range of what I was looking for in the vicinity. So the options that I had was either George Tabor, which is is it a
TVET college?
Yes. So they offer primary agriculture, which is just a national certificate. And then the next option would be a diploma at the Potchefstroom College of Agriculture or University of Pretoria. So at the time, my situation was kind of complicated. I couldn't be away from home. I had a young daughter. My daughter was just a year old when I was making this decision. So I couldn't be too far from family and my support system. I needed something that was just close enough. So because I live in the western part of Soweto, Potchefstroom was only an hour away. So it was doable compared to University of Pretoria, which was 2 hours away. And then I kind of compared, okay, do I want a university? I know it's going to be a lot more theory, or college, which is more popular with giving you practical experience, Yes. So Potch was like, the perfect choice for me at the time. It was keeping me close to family. So I was literally traveling every day up until the second year where I did move to the Northwest for some time. So it wasn't an easy decision for me to make, but those were the only institutions that I could find that could assist me in getting this information about this industry, because I wanted to know. I didn't just want to say I'm venturing into farming and be lost in the space. I wanted to be informed so I could make informed decisions about, the business.
But in the first place, what motivated you, or, the drive to study farming, especially as a woman?
Yes.
Because I'll be quiet with you. I grew up in Northwest, in rural area, where we did farming, but women doing farming, nope. Okay. That's a different story.
I think there's two aspects to this idea, and I'll start with the first one. The first one was that I grew up in a family with a lot of strong women, so I've literally never had any kind of complex about what I can and cannot do, But I was also abroad, and what was really disheartening for me was to see the economic disposition of African people. Even if we are abroad, you are still at such a disadvantage, I was looking at my European friends who could get money sent to them from their parents, and it was more, I was in the States at the time. Their parents could send them €100, and it's actually more in value in the States.
Yes.
Whereas my family couldn't send me money and have it appreciate. If they tried to send me money, it would depreciate, And I started to really dig deep into some of these issues, like why is it like this? Why do I come from a country that's not empowered? Or even if I am abroad, I don't have any kind of support from my own country. Some of the German students that I was with, their government would give them money for every semester that they finished. Every time they finish a semester, there's money that they can claim from their embassy and all these benefits that their country was giving them. And I started to really look at South Africa so like up close, even though I was so far away. I started to look at it up close, and I started to study what is actually wrong with the situation in South Africa that's not allowing for people like myself who just want to be better themselves, educate themselves, and come home to empower those that, you know, that are close to me. And it is the economic disposition of the country, you know, socioeconomic issues. And if you look at that even deeper, you'll realize that food insecurity causes majority of problems that we experience through poverty. Exactly. It comes from food insecurity. Yeah. The moment you are food insecure, it's very hard for you to self-actualize, to become anything, because your first immediate need on a daily basis is food, you know? So that became very concerning to me. And then I was like, okay, maybe I should study agricultural studies, you know, just so, because I knew the history of South Africa. Majority of the farmers are not African people, you know, they are your Afrikaners, your Boers who came here during colonization, and there wasn't a lot of figures that I knew of that were big in the space. But I also understood that information can be absorbed by anyone, you know, and I knew that I haven't seen people doing it, and I just started to look in the mirror and say, maybe you should be me, you know. And at the time, I was neck deep in entertainment. That's really what I was focusing on for many, many years. I still have my hand in entertainment till this day, but that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do entertainment, but I also understood that I don't feel like Africa needs more entertainers. We definitely need more people, you know, really concerned about the serious issues that we're facing, you know. So it was more about really being patriotic, about making South Africa a better place, and being the example that I wanted to see with other people, you know.
That's great.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about, you know, literacy in farming. Like you had to leave. Like you say, that the only, at George Table, the only at TVET College, the only thing that they offered was national certificate, which is what you didn't want. Now, someone is in your shoes, you know, she or he want to study that, what you have studied. And you had to leave, you know, the province. The person is here, but they want something that is closer. Do you think we have a gap when it comes to agricultural studies, like even around the country as a whole?
Absolutely. I want to say that there are some institutions that are doing their best, you know, to really impart these skills on young people, but they also have their shortfalls. I'm sure you've seen there's been things online. I remember there was a carte blanche special about the state of some of these agricultural colleges, because when apartheid ended and they became now in the hands of the government, they became very neglected. And so we're actually, even though the colleges are there, they're still lacking in some aspects to really give people the quality of information that is needed in this day and age, especially in this technological era that we're in, you know. So there's a huge gap, excuse me, even in the institutions that do exist, you know, and hence I also would like to be a source of information for people, you know, for people who are looking for that and may not have the resources to study the way that I did. You need to understand that when I was going to agricultural college, I was a full-fledged adult. I was a parent, you know, with all these adult responsibilities, and it took a lot from my life, from my finances, to cut out those 3 years to dedicate to the diploma. So it's not going to be easy, but if you're really, really serious about it, you just immerse yourself in any opportunity that you can get. I would still recommend the national colleges that we have. I believe I believe there might be 6. There's one in KZN, there's one in Taung, there's Potchefstroom, and I can't recall the others, but those are the ones that are doing really well to really impart skills on young people. There is one in Joburg. It's called Buhle Agricultural Academy, I believe. I believe they also offer up to NQF level 4. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they've upgraded the kind of qualification that they can give people, but that was also another option. But like I said, I was really aiming for the highest academic level that I could achieve, because I'd come from a working environment. I understood that I'm still competing against academics if I want to be thriving in the space. It's not just about getting dirty. You need to know what you're talking about if you're trying to make a living out of this, So hence I had to make that sacrifice. So it's not going to be easy to anyone sitting there thinking this is so hard. Yes, it is, and it still is. Even being in the space, having left college over 4 years ago, it's still very difficult for me to find my feet, to thrive and do as well as I want to do, because there's just a huge gap for African people in this space.
Now let's talk about, you spoke about food security, and now you're talking about getting dirty. Many young people, when you talk about agriculture or farming, they don't take it as something that is literate. They think it's something like getting dirty. They think of sitting in an office.
Yes.
When you talk about education, someone who's educated is someone in the office, with that, yes. the laptop in front and stuff. But when you talk about farming, no, it's not their thing. What can you say about that? Because you mentioned something very important about food security, And I mean, I laughed when you said you believe that you don't need more entertainers, but you need people who will develop economy. So what can you say to such young people?
So in the agricultural space, there are definitely two schools of thought and two worlds, to be honest. There is the world of academia in the agricultural space. You still have people who are fully professionals, rarely get dirty, and the more in the research space, the scientific space, in the labs, all that good stuff. That someone who feels like they want to be more professional in this space, there's absolutely room for that. But it also goes with the kind of qualification that you have, because those kind of institutions are not going to hire you without a certain level of education, right? So, and then there's the other side where you can freelance. You can literally be a farmer without the qualification, but just informing yourself, short courses, and just really practically doing the work, So there's two sides to it. And the academic side is very competitive, by the way. It's very, very competitive. You have your plant pathologists, you've got, your PhD students in the space. It's equally as competitive as as other careers, And then the practical side of things may not be attractive to young people because there's no space for beauty. There's no space for cleanliness. You are dirty, you are stinky, but you're doing great, great work. And the money and the potential of money that you can make is beyond some of the money that you can get in the professional space. So that's why there's two schools of thought. One has a lot more security, I can say so. A lot of those people who want the office kind of situation are going to be working for Gov. They want to be at your ARC, agricultural research. I forgot agricultural research. I'm forgetting the agricultural acronyms, but there's several institutions where you can have a fully professional career, never really get dirty, and then there's a side where we're kind of balancing the two. It is very scientific. You do need to know what's going on, with the soil health, the environment. Applying fertilizers and applying chemicals, even up to agricultural entrepreneurship, where you need to be able to run your business, keep your books in order, and all that good stuff. So it really is a very dynamic world that can let anybody in, in any capacity, no matter what kind of personality you have. There's space for you in agriculture. And so you are saying, can you also be like professional and also get dirty at the same time? Absolutely. That's pretty much me. That's pretty much what I do. That's pretty much what I do. And now my work is actually evolving more to the clean side, where I'm really trying to help people get their paperwork in order when it comes to a farming business, because farmers usually look at things very practically. They just want to worry about, are my plants growing, but when you want to actually grow your farm, you need to have your administration in order, and that's where there's a huge information gap for a lot of farmers. You need to understand that the average farmer in South Africa is 61 years old. That number hasn't changed over almost 60 years, since the 1960s. The average age of a farmer has been 61, and it's still sitting there, Hence, there's been a lot of talk about really inviting youth in this space, because we need young people, because some of these older generations are actually, retiring. But not only that, they're actually not able to absorb information the way that we do as young people and really take advantage of the things that are happening in the space, So we do need some fresh minds in there. But yes, you can have the best of both both worlds, which is what I love. I don't think that I would fully be happy just being in the office and pointing at things. I love being in the field, seeing my plants grow, observing them, diagnosing things correctly or incorrectly. It's a beautiful process on its own, and I wouldn't take that away from even the things that I know academically in the space.
You make me to want to do agriculture now. Can you just stop a little bit before I become, inspired? Can I just go for a short break? Then when we come back, we continue with the discussion.
Sure.
We will be back shortly.
The Creative Corner with Nolu Knowles, a cozy and inspiring show that features interviews with artists, showcases their work, challenges, and successes. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on Share Radio. Tune in live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. This is Share Radio.
Welcome back to OnWriting with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. We are still having our Mathulare Ashler Mathikge on the studio, and she's sharing more about literacy in farming. You spoke before break, you spoke about bringing young people to the space, because previously we have old people, so it's enough now, we need young people. And there's a project I understand that you are busy with that also involves young people. Can you please elaborate on that project that you are busy with?
Yes, so the space that I've been working at now has been through a program offered by City of Joburg and Gauteng Department of Agriculture. They established what they call agri-parks. And essentially what they do is they call a number of farmers to come occupy the space and allow them to farm. And they subsidize some of the resources that you need in order for you to work. Okay. And that's the space that I've been working at for the past 4 years. And it was an easy transition for me because I was coming literally fresh from college, but I didn't want to go and be. I was employed for some time at a commercial farm in order to get myself ready to do it for myself. That has always been my goal, to be my own farm owner, my own farmer. So I've been working in that space for some time, but now the space that they allocate is very limited, and even some of the things that you can do, it's very hard for you to put infrastructure on that land because it's a semi-permanent situation. So I've currently been able to acquire a lease on a much larger farm.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So the space is it's a fairly big space for farming in Gauteng, let alone Johannesburg, because it's still within the Johannesburg city line. So this space, I want to use it not only just to farm, but really to become a commercial space where people can get permanent jobs, in this space to grow. I want it to be a mixed farming enterprise. So there'll not only be plants, there'll be animal production, and not only we're going to be working, but we're also going to be teaching, because I want these young people to have the opportunity to become me someday. Yeah. I don't wish for them to just work for me forever. I want them to see who they could be in me, in the things that we're going to be doing. So it's really going to be a holistic project where we're going to be farming and teaching, and also teaching them about how important it is to care for the environment. So it's going to be a eco-friendly facility, and it's going to be a compound with multiple things going on. I've been engaging with UJ with their PEATS program, where they're going to be coming in helping us with a biodigester, which is a great way to create energy on the farm because of the challenges faced in the agricultural industry because of the energy shortage in the country. So it's going to be a beautiful, dynamic space. I'm going to be using a lot of technology because that's the space that I'm currently working in as well. So there'll be hydroponics as well as traditional farming. So it's really going to be a beautiful place. And I'm hoping to hire at least 100 young people.
That's great.
Yes.
You speak about traditional farming. Now that brings me to my next question. Mm-hmm. Someone is saying, okay, you speak about big land, but I don't have that dream. My wish is just to have a garden in my backyard.
Yes.
Please, can you just, and then we'll come to the one of who doesn't have a space. But let's talk about the one who want to. What is the advice that you can give to the person who want to do that a little thing? Yeah.
So
food security, as you have said.
Yes. So funny enough, before I actually studied, I was in the small garden space. So I was working with a lot of NPOs, NGOs that have small food gardens because I just wanted to get my hands dirty at first. I didn't know that I would go so deep into the industry and to even know some of the things that I know today. At first, I just wanted to know, how do I create a small garden for myself and then teach other people how to do the same thing? Because my whole thing was like, let's help people be food secure. Because once they're food secure, then we can start to teach them to read. We can start to teach them to run a business, But if they're hungry, there's not much productivity that's going to happen there. So that was actually my first initial goal in the space. And the commercial side of farming, I actually found more about at agricultural college when you're actually finding out how much farms actually make. And you're thinking to yourself, an individual can make 100 million a year on a chicken farm? Wait. And how do they do it? Oh, they just need to follow all these steps that I've been taught. And then that's where my love for commercial farming really grew. But initially, my first thing was like, how do we teach people that food is not a grocery store? Food is something that you can plant a seed in the ground, water it and give it what it needs, and it will grow and give you fruit, and not only fruit, but more seeds to plant some more. So that was really my first initial love. And it's probably the most easiest thing that anybody can do. But it's also hard because we've gotten so used to, I'm just going to go to this grocery store. I won't name names because we don't want to advertise anyone. Yes. But, that's how people think of food. Give me some money so I can go to this place and get what I need to eat. But that's not actually true. You can raise animals that you're going to consume. You can have a chicken that lays you eggs at your house. Those are really practical things that we can do. But it is something that people have been so detached from because we've been so urbanized and displaced. So we also have space inequality in some of our communities. There's no space for you to explore those ideas. But I would still urge anyone to use the littlest space that you have. Plant a few spinach here and there, especially if you know that there are times where you go without any food. That's what I would do. I would start with just a few seeds. You can buy these at some of these retail stores that I won't say the name of, but you can, don't pass them when you see them. Grab one every now and then just to experiment, because growing food takes time. The average vegetable takes a good 3 months to grow. So people get impatient within that time, but because we're in the space, those are just the timelines that we work with. But the average person might get a bit impatient. But if you know what you're trying to do, start somewhere.
Before we go to the one without the soil, when it comes to now planting, you remind me something when you say, actually, you ignite something in me when you say, you can actually find the seeds in those grocery stores. So just a funny thing that, like someone who's smoking, you will see. They have written that smoking can kill you, but you still go and buy it.
Yeah.
Now, even in like you are saying, you can buy the seeds. So in other words, these people have, they do have veggies there, but they are saying to you, go and do it yourself and don't come and buy it from
you
us.
Can,
but we are not getting that thing. We're just passing it and buying the same thing that we can actually do.
Yes.
But now let's go to the planting now. Someone is saying, I don't have a soil. I have pavement all over my yard, but is there anything that I can do to actually plant food in my yard?
Definitely. You have to be creative, and you don't think too hard about it. There was a gentleman who was speaking with earlier. He was like, can I do it in buckets? Yes, you can. So soil, what a lot of people don't know, is alive. And how you keep it alive is what you feed it, and what you feed it is organic matter. So if you can have a few buckets around, and then you're also throwing food scraps in the buckets, and you're turning that soil every now and then, you are creating fertile soil for yourself where anything can grow. Those are literally organic, natural things that you can do to grow food in your garden. It doesn't have to be that complicated. You don't have to use the expensive chemicals and fertilizers that we use because we're doing it on a commercial scale. You just need 5 to 10 plants. I need 5 to 10,000. You see, so it's a very different ball game, And we can have a whole other conversation about organic farming in the commercial space. It has its challenges, but the average person can participate in growing their own food in their own home. It's not that difficult. You just really have to want to do it. And like I said, have the patience to learn. There's YouTube University where you can literally Google anything and learn how to do it yourself. So the information is out there, but you have to seek it and you have to be really serious about sustaining it.
You spoke something now about fertilizers, and this is a question that I had for many years. And I want you to, I'm putting you on the corner now. And I want you to give me an insight. This is for me. Okay. Now, maybe someone has the same thing that I have.
Yes.
Speaking about fertilizer, I've seen a lot of people planting, the food or plants where maybe there used to be a toilet. Mm-hmm. Then they will plant something there, and they will boast and say, "Hey, look at this! There are fertilizers here."
Yes.
So I want to ask you: Is it okay? Is it healthy? Because I've been asking myself this question for years. So here you are. Please help me.
Wow. It's a very uncomfortable conversation. A lot of people don't want to have it.
Exactly. That is what I'm saying for years.
Yes.
I've struggled for years.
But the truth is that's actually part of the best fertilizers out there. And a lot of these commercial farms do use it. Yes, they do.
Okay.
They just need to declare that they do. And then there's a certain methodology on when to use it. You use it before you put any plants on the ground. So you essentially would use it to treat the soil first, right?
Okay.
That's the legal way of doing it, because you don't want to pour it onto the ground when the plants are already there, because then you would contaminate the plants.
No, definitely.
But once you put it on the soil before you put the plants, you are treating the soil, and that soil becomes a lot more fertile.
Okay.
Now, this is also done with animal waste. A lot of pig waste is being used in growing a lot of our maize. So pig farmers literally collect the waste, and then it is applied to the soil as fertilizer, same as human waste, like I said, but there is just a lot of red tape about when and how it can be used. And I recently just learned of the water treatment plant in Sebokeng, where they partnered with a German company that is helping them create green energy, similarly to the project that I told you will be happening at my farm. They have a biodigester, and some of obviously what is coming out of there as a byproduct is human waste, and that is being used as fertilizer. It's being given to the farmers as fertilizer. So it is actually happening, but it's an uncomfortable thing for people to know, and maybe that's why people in this space don't share that it is being used. So it's a thing.
Okay,
yes.
All right. I want us to talk about, I'm not sure if we still have time for, enough time for our short break, because we have about 3 minutes now. But I want us to talk about another one that is very sensitive, very political. I'm not a political person. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you are. But I want us to talk about the land without compensation. You spoke about getting a big land and stuff. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about the issue of land without compensation. Your thought on that?
It's like you said, very sensitive subject, and it's very hard to be in farming and not be political. It's very difficult because a lot of the space has to deal with how the government is treating you as an individual. Their support, their decisions, their rules and regulations around farming. You definitely are constantly affected by some of those things. So you find yourself being involved in the conversation, even if you're not a political person, So we need to go back and look at history to say, why aren't more black people farming, for instance? There's very alarming stats about the market share that black farmers have. Even though there might be more black farmers in the space, they're only contributing a very small percentage to the market share.
Okay.
And that's because of land inequality that has happened for the past 400 years in the country. So those wrongs haven't been corrected. For instance, Borch College of Agriculture is over 110 years old. Right?
Yeah.
And our democracy is only 30.
Yes, exactly.
So there's a lot of work for us to do, because over 110 years ago, there's a certain people in our country who knew that they needed to impart their young people with the skill, and built a whole college that was fully equipped in all the ways that you can equip an agricultural institution. And then you have, African people who are not empowered in the same way. And even till this day, 30 years later, I'm telling you, we still have so many challenges in that space. Our institutions are not as equipped as they should be. There's a lot of information gaps. So that should kind of let you know the difficulties in this space when it comes to that. But farming, to be practical, is a game of scale. It's a game of scale. So how I become a successful farmer is how much space I have to experiment, because a lot of things go wrong. It's one of the most riskiest business that you can be in, and the only way for you to survive is to diversify. And if you don't have the space to diversify, you won't survive. And I've been working with a number of farmers, over 70 farmers in our organization, and I've watched over the years, it's so hard for them, for their lives to improve, because their shortfalls are so often, and the support is so little and far between, The space that they have is also very small and limited. So land is something that is highly necessary for a farmer to have, especially a professional farmer. So what my take on it would be, definitely something needs to be done. We also don't want to see a case, as in our neighbors, where making that decision abruptly and unplanned and maybe unreasonably to a point can really affect their economy. It's been over 20 years. They're still trying to stabilize their currency because of the sanctions and things of that nature that have been done to them, and that is a fear for a lot of people to really aggressively support this idea of saying no compensation.
Because I wanted just a little bit.
Yes.
Because I wanted to ask you of saying, okay, are we going to do enough when we still have the land, a big land? Are we still going to do the same thing or enough than our previous competitors, if I can put it like that? That's another question or challenge that maybe we might have, that you give me a big land, but then am I going to be productive on the land?
Exactly. And that's why it's such a loaded conversation, because then we go back to say, are we skilling our young people enough to actually handle it, right? And then you go back to those challenges. See, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, but one of them I think definitely is information. It needs to be out there. The book that I'm writing, I want it to be translated in multiple languages. I want us to talk about the book after the break.
Please just pause it.
Yes.
Let's just go for a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to OnWriting with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. Do not forget to subscribe, to share online, as we are wrapping up our conversation with Mathulare Ashler Mathikge, who is a data scientist and farmer. You spoke about your book,
yes.
And I stopped you a little bit because we had to drink water,
Yes.
So let's talk about the book that you are busy writing.
Yes. Okay, so the book, again, came from being inspired to share. There's so much room for everybody, and there's no need for me to hold any information for myself. And again, it goes back to my initial inspiration was to spread information about how to grow food so that we can then start to get more scientists and more doctors and really become productive as a continent, So the book is just going to be about sharing information. It's going to be called A Young African's Guide to Farming, So I want to help people navigate the space. I want somebody in Kenya to be able to look at the environment and say, okay, this is how can I do it where I am? There's so many things to consider: climate, resources, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a very practical guide on how to work in the space. It'll also be accompanied with some digital media, because of my recent work in the data science space and just seeing how we can do things digitally, So I really want to incorporate that in that as well, some visual aids, so that people can not only read but have practical examples on how to do things, because it's so easy to read, right? But how do I actually do it, So I really want it to be a full circle turnkey guide into the space, because we really need more farmers.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great actually initiative to write a book, such a book.
Yes.
Because I always say this, that I worked at a bookshop. I once worked at a bookshop, and I'm telling you the truth, I didn't see any book about farming. Apart from a book that I've read at school when I was doing agriculture.
Right.
Like, you know.
Yes.
But the book, like the one that you are writing, I've never seen. I was working at the bookshop for the whole year I worked there. I've never seen a book about farming.
Okay.
You understand?
Exciting.
So it's a very great initiative that you're starting. But do you think more people are needed? Are you also going to encourage more people to write about such people who are getting acquainted with agriculture?
Yes.
Can you also advise them to write such books?
Absolutely, you know, but like it goes back to saying it's a very competitive industry.
Yeah.
It's very competitive, you know, so not everyone may be inclined to share. You know, I've seen even on social media, a lot of young people in this space. A lot of them are showing the best side of what we do. You know, they're not showing you when your equipment gets stolen and, you know, all the stuff, the real challenges of the business, you know. They're only going to show the glamorized part.
Exactly,
and,
yeah.
you know, it's becoming very uncomfortable the way that it's being displayed online, which I don't appreciate. We need to be real because if you're not real with people, they're going to find themselves in this space and easily give up, you know. And I've seen that happen with so many people where someone would literally leave a farm, leave their land to go for a job. Because that just makes more sense to me. I'd rather just do what I need to do and get my salary than to actually do something that could be impactful for a lifetime. You know, so we could lose a lot of young people if we don't empower them correctly. You know, so the book is going to encompass all of that. The stuff that can go wrong, which is very important for you to understand and to understand it practically. Because when I was in agricultural college, a lot of the people who were teaching me were academics. Again, very little practical experience. So the way that I've gotten dirty in the space and really, you know, put myself in the most uncomfortable position that you could be in the space, I feel like that's the stuff that people need to know, you know, over and above the scientific facts about how to treat the soil, etc., etc. We need to be real.
And you remind me now
an
issue of, for example, if let's say you have cows, you know, cattle as a whole, and then the sickness.
Yes.
Sometimes you get,
happens.
you know,
and or poisonous plants.
Exactly, your livestock dies, and you know you are happy. I have 100 cows,
and then you wake up and all 100 are gone or stolen, or how do you navigate that?
Exactly.
Those kind of things. You know, those are some of the things that are going to be in the book, and those are the things that people are happy to share about, because your farm inputs or your stock, that's your bank account. You know, so if I share my challenges, then I'm also sharing, I'm broke, or you know, or I'm going through this challenge, which is also always hard for people to share. But I want to be realistic with people about these are the difficulties. But hey, look, these are also the fruits that you can get from really, you know, cultivating this thing.
Someone is watching the show now, Osmachu, and they are saying, "I want to do it now, not big, just small." The advice that we're giving to the person:
start small. It's always good. See how long it takes for a plant to grow, you know, than to leave your job and then you need to wait 120 days till you see some money, you know. So really get your hands dirty. Start small. Like I said, small in your bucket that you can find. Tires is a good thing. If you're feeling a little bit adventurous, ask a local school for a little patch, you know, where you can access some water. And like I said, incorporate all that organic matter into the soil so that it's fertile and you know, there's not a lot of stress on you and to feed the soil, because you literally need to keep the soil alive so that the soil can keep your plants alive. You do need to inform yourself about the process, but it's doable. You know, start small. If people want you, you know, because you are doing a lot of work, you know, you're also working with the department, right? Yes. If people want to get hold of you to get more info, you know, some maybe want to join you on your venture, they want just advice. Please. Where will people get hold of you? Okay, so I am on social media. My farm page is Matus Foods. I have been farming under Vuele 2 Farming. A lot of people know me on social media. I think we have about 3,000 following on there under Vuele 2 Farming, but it's going to be now Matus Foods because of the new project that we're working on. I'm also on LinkedIn under my full name. So I'm really accessible. I've gotten incredible phone calls from people reaching out to me from programs that they've seen me on, or, you know, so I'm very open to having conversations, teaching teaching. I have farmers who call me with certain problems all the time. So I'm fairly an open person when it comes to anything to do with agriculture.
And maybe, your last advice to young people, because you transition from media to farming.
Yes.
So I want you to give a young person who's watching the show now, the each of the braveness, the confidence, of living, of saying, I want to transit from media to farming. Maybe it's not, someone doesn't want to transit from media to farming, but maybe to another career, to start from scratch, because you started from scratch.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, media and farming, totally different.
Yes,
It's not that you are linking something. No, you understand. What can you say to that person, who is saying, maybe he's looking at the food, not food security, rather financial security, of saying, because I'm working here, but I want to do that thing. I think if I can do that thing, I'm going to progress. But security here, what can you say to that person?
Look, I'm a very diverse professional in general. I've always been highly ambitious, but I study a lot of successful people. And I've also learned that to do big things, you're also going to do hard things, So you need to be prepared for that, because I think this newer generation isn't prepared to do things hard. You're talking about the digital generation, people who microwave babies, so to speak, 2 minutes and whatever you want is done. You need to change your mindset. You need to be really prepared to, if you want something, you can really go for it. And I think that's where my confidence comes from. I literally don't believe there's anything I can't do, And even working with older people, I've actually seen how long your life can be, So we live in a generation where young people, we're in a rush. We're constantly in a rush. But I've realized that in life, you really take your time. And that's when you can really refine all your dreams. You can literally achieve anything that you want to do. You just need to take your time. We waste time all the time. Look at how much time you spend on your phone. If you spend that much time studying something or looking into something, what results are you going to get? And that's literally how I look at things. I don't want to waste the time that I have in the world to make an impact, to change my life. I have a daughter who's looking up to me, and every day she needs to look at me, and who is she looking at? And those are the things that inspire me to do more. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love business. I love commerce. I also am super passionate about economic empowerment. I want to see South Africa as the next Dubai, for lack of a better country to choose. But I really want that for our citizens. I want citizens from South Africa to have the kind of security that you need from a country that you believe in, that you love. So that's where my passion comes from. I want everybody to have a good life and to really enjoy life. And so if we need to start with the fundamentals, if you look at Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy, let's focus on our needs first. And that's where my inspiration comes from. If we can fix our needs, then everybody has the potential to be anything that they want to be. And I want that not even for myself, but for my cousins, my brothers, my daughter. I want them to have a space where they can dream and it be allowed, for them. And they don't have to be asked, why are you so confident? Because you're allowed. You're allowed to want to be anything that you want to be. So that's where my inspiration comes from. It's about wanting to be successful.
Thank you so much for your time. You remind me a statement that we grew up, saying to each, actually we're asking each other when we talk about food security, because you said you believe in food security, that let's talk about food security first, then we can talk about reading and doing other things, because you need to eat first so that you can have energy. So we grew up with the statement of saying, do you eat to live or do you live to eat?
Right.
And I was sharing to my friend, I said I only understood that statement when I was older, that actually I don't live to eat, but I eat to live. Because if I live to eat, then it's something else. But if I eat to live, that's where you come in, that food security, before we talk about things, food first. But thank you so much for your time and for your insight. And I think please come back when you have finished the book, and we come and do the book review for that one.
I would love that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show. That was On Writing with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. Please, please, please don't forget to subscribe, to share online, where we inform, educate, empower, and entertain. See you next time.